Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jada Blossom, and I'm doing some catch-up projects for the October release. Hey, so I'm using Jada Blossom's new Build an Ornament die, the Christmas Blessing stamp set and outline dies, and the Noel stamp set from Jada Blossom. I'm also using this Stampin' Up! Paper called Feels Like Frost and Doodlebug's Gingham Linen and Floral Graph. I did assemble these in the assembly video, and then I just made this one by myself, and I did use some enamel shape sprinkles for some of it, but you know, very straightforward. So first I have an A2 size card base that I made out of Paper Tray Ink Dark Indigo cardstock. So that's 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches. And now I'm adding a piece of this Stampin' Up! Paper Feels Like Frost to the front of it with some ATG tape. This is 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card. There we go. Now on the inside, I'm adding some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock cut at 4 by 5.25 inches. So I'm going to pop that inside just to give you some place to write. And then I'm going to add some strips. This is like a 1-inch strip and like a 3/4 of an inch strip, something like that, of pattern paper. I'm just adding some decorative paper to the inside as well. So there we go. That pattern paper is from that same Feels Like Frost Stampin' Up! Designer paper set. So I'm just sort of measuring using my Stampin' Up! Kind of pad that I'm working on. So I'm like 1/2 inch from the bottom roughly. And I'm just trimming off that overhang with a pair of scissors. And now I'm going to stamp on the inside. I'm taking this stamp, the stamp set Noel from Jada Blossom, and I'm going to stamp this little bauble on the inside. And it's just kind of like a generic, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year type sentiment. And I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink using my Misty. There we go. So it's like wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know, and it's perfect because it has a little bauble on there, right? There we go. So I am taking these little pine fronds that I cut out using the Build an Ornament die from Jada Blossom, and I used Basil Swiss Dot, and it's like a turquoise. You can't really even see that it's Swiss Dot, but it started out as Swiss Dot before it ran through my Anna Griffin Empress machine. So I'm just adding some Bearly Art glue, and I'm going to have that coming in from the upper left-hand corner. And I will weight it down with an acrylic block. Oops, and I hit my camera. Sorry, guys. I'm going to add this little ornament. I did assemble this ornament on the Build an Ornament assembly video, so check that out. You can see my little tips and tricks. And I'm going to pop that in the upper left-hand corner. So I did use gingham linen from Doodlebug for that one. I'm going to add another little palm frond in the lower right corner. I'm just adding some Bearly Art glue to this one as well. And whoops, I'm just trying to make sure all the main stems are glued down. Oops, actually, you know what? Sorry, I lied. I'm putting it right over top of the other one because I want this ornament hidden a little bit. I do put another one in the lower right-hand corner, so I'm not crazy, but you know. There we go. So I will weight it down with an acrylic block. Next, I'm going to pop that other one that I was talking about in the, you know, mid-right. There we are. And then that gives me a little home for my other ornament. So I do assemble all these ornaments on the assembly video. The mirrored ornament that I use on this card, I actually just did it by myself. You know, I just added some shape sprinkles instead of using the die cuts, you know, around the top and bottom. Nothing, no rocket science involved in this one. And I will weight it down with an acrylic block. Now I'm going to stick this guy down using my ATG tape. And there, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue around the outside and make sure it's stuck down really well. I really love that silver mirror cardstock. It really adds a lot of shine, which is lots of fun. And I'm just making sure it's stuck down really well. There we go. And I am going to pop up my sentiment with some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. That sentiment is from the Christmas Christmas Blessings stamp set from Jaded Blossom, and I'm using the outline dies that went along with it. I'm just going to pop this all up, like I said, with the little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. That's going to end up in the upper right-hand corner of my little card. So there we go. And I will peel off all those backings and get them in place. So this is a really easy die set to use. You know, if you get stuck, you can watch my assembly video. You know, so the sentiment is all is calm and it's all is bright. And, you know, I just think this is lots of fun. And I think that kids could certainly use this ornament set, this die ornament set, to make their own little ornaments, which would be fun. There we go. I'm going to add this in the upper right-hand corner. So all is calm and all is bright. There. And I will trim off the overhang of those stems with my scissors. There we go. Now I'm taking one of these little stems and I'm going to add it to the inside a little bit for this little ornament to be hanging from. I kind of like to add something a little bit, you know, a little something something on the inside, right? It makes it look like, you know, it matches what's going on the outside. So this is what I do when I'm working out what I'm going to do. I'm taking this Signo silver gel pen and I'm just going to color in the top of this little ornament. And I'm going to, you know, kind of trace over the little asterisk stars as well. And then I'm going to add in this little, you know, pine bough. So I'm just adding that with some glue there. And I will, you know, make sure it's stuck down well. And I'm just going to trim the upper little fronds. I'm going to give it a little bit of a haircut just so my card can, you know, shut easily. I don't want it to, you know, get stuck in the hinge of the card. So I'm just trimming that off. And no one will notice that. There we go. And I will trim off that overhang with a pair of scissors. There. So I think that looks pretty cute. Now on the outside, I'm pulling in some Doodlebug shape sprinkles. These are called the Silver Assortment. And I'm going to add a few of these on my actual pink ornament, just for fun. Just adds another silver touch to this card because I do have that, you know, that big silver mirror ornament. It kind of adds a little bit more bling. And I'm going to add a few of these also to my card front just as an embellishment. So I'm going to add a group of 3 in the lower left. And I'll add a couple right there. And there we go. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, Be Inspired by the Team, and the Jaded Blossom store to get shopping. Bye, everybody.